Welcome back, dear viewers, to another episode of 1001 Facts That Make You Smarter, where we uncover fascinating wonders and surprising truths that broaden our horizons. Did you know there exists a strange creature that has a temporary backside, one that appears only when nature calls, then disappears without a trace? Or that an ancient tomb might secretly house a time machine? Or that a simple mousetrap forgotten for over a century and a half could still manage to catch a clever rodent? Let's explore these incredible stories together in Episode 2 of Shio. In the heart of glamorous London stands an ancient tomb that has long intrigued locals, who believe it could be a mysterious time machine or even a teleportation chamber of immense power. It is the final resting place of Key, Mrs. Hannah Croy, born Hannah Peters. A remarkable woman who served both as housekeeper and heir to John Croy, one of the wealthiest merchants in 18th century England. The tomb lies in Brompton Cemetery, Shiki, a tranquil site in West Brompton, southwest London. To understand this story, we must look back at John Croy himself. Born Nicolas Jaquinet in 1729 in rusty France, he moved to London in 1751 at the age of 22, adopting the name John Croy, which he kept for life. Nearly 50 years later, at age 71, Croy had become one of the richest and most influential men in Britain, known for both his immense wealth and notorious stinginess. His fortune was estimated at $250,000 by the end of the 18th century, equivalent to 14.6 million D410 billion today. During that time, he hired a young housemaid in her 20s named Hannah Peters. Within 6 short years, she rose to prominence in his household, managing everything and even bearing him 3 daughters, Mary, Elizabeth, and Susanna Croy. After Croy's death in 1818, public fascination grew around the fate of his vast estate. In 1810, 8 years before his death, he had written a will leaving most of his wealth to his former wife, Mary Ann Y., and their children. But 4 years later, in 1814, he drafted a second and final will, naming Hannah Croy and her 3 daughters as the new heirs. This sudden change raised many questions, none of which were ever answered. Hannah Croy herself was known for her deep knowledge of astrology and the mysteries of ancient Egyptian civilization. She passed away in 1849, 31 years after her employer. She and 2 of her daughters were buried in a massive granite tomb, nearly cut 6 meters tall. Designed in the style of ancient Egypt, topped by a pyramid and sealed by a bronze door engraved with hieroglyphs. The tomb had a keyhole, but its key vanished, and no one has ever entered since. This enigma, combined with her peculiar life story, fueled rumors that the tomb might actually conceal a time machine or teleportation device, much like those seen in Star Trek. Since no one can enter to confirm or deny these claims, the legend continues to this day. Another peculiar story involves a 162-year-old mousetrap, that actually caught a live mouse in 2016. This perpetual mousetrap, was invented in 1861 by British inventor Colin Pollinger, who aimed to create a self-resetting trap that could continuously catch mice one after another. The design was simple yet brilliant, a wooden box with a seesaw inside. The mouse would crawl through a hole lured by bait, tipping the seesaw so it could only move forward into one of 2 holding chambers. Once trapped, the seesaw would tilt back, ready for the next mouse. Pollinger claimed in advertisements that his trap caught 28 mice in one night, and one farmer allegedly caught 1,000 mice in 9 months using a single trap. While those numbers were likely exaggerated, they did prove its effectiveness. By 1885, over 2 million traps had been sold for half a penny each, roughly 11.20 D314,000. Today, not cheap for a mousetrap. Pollinger's traps were considered humane compared to modern glue traps, which have faced bans and backlash for cruelty. New Zealand banned glue traps in 2015. And the UK, has proposed similar legislation. Animal rights activists argue that glue traps cause suffocation, torn skin, broken limbs, and prolonged suffering before death. Pullinger's perpetual traps disappeared from the market by 1920, replaced by cheaper, less humane alternatives. However, one of his original traps is now displayed at the Museum of English Rural Life in Reading, UK. In 2016, museum staff were stunned to discover a dead mouse inside the 155-year-old trap without any bait. Somehow, a mouse had wandered in on its own. So perhaps Pullinger's eternal trap really did live up to its name. It worked for over a century. In 2019, scientists discovered a strange creature with a temporary anus, one that appears only when it needs to defecate, then vanishes. The Warty Comb Jelly, a shimmering jelly-like marine organism, might represent a crucial stage in evolutionary history. Comb jellies, ctenophores, swim using rows of tiny cilia resembling comb teeth, hence their name. Some species can reach 1.5 meters in length. Their transient anus, a biological feature seen only in comb jellies, appears and disappears as needed. Unlike most animals, these creatures don't have a permanent opening. In typical jellyfish, food and waste pass through the same opening, but comb jellies have a separate exit, though only temporarily. Dr. Sidney Tam from the Pars Marine Biological Laboratory in Massachusetts discovered this phenomenon. Under the microscope, he couldn't find any trace of a permanent anus on his specimens, only a slit that formed when the jelly needed to excrete waste. When their intestines filled up, pressure forced the material upward through the skin, forming a brief opening that vanished afterward. Though odd or even unsettling, this discovery has evolutionary significance. Comb jellies have existed for over 500 million years, suggesting that these temporary anuses might represent a missing evolutionary link. A transition between primitive organisms with no anus, like jellyfish, and advanced species with permanent ones, like humans. So the next time you visit the bathroom, remember, it could be worse. And that concludes episode 2 of 1001 Facts That Will Make You Smarter. From BrainPop Universe. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Do you use any kind of mousetrap at home? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and to subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get updates whenever we post new videos.